Metal Gear Solid 3 is one of the best games ever released, and I will literally fight you if you disagree. And in about a week, the remake of the 2004 game is dropping, and quite frankly, it looks incredible. I've been asking for Metal Gear Solid remakes of the older games for the better part of a decade now, and by the looks of the trailers, this game is going to be an epic revisit of a fan favourite. The game has had a massive update graphically, and as we understand it, mechanically as well, as it's been completely rebuilt from the ground up in UE5. With remakes, however, one thing I know I tend to forget is that with all these massive upgrades, you might need to do some too. So what we're going to do is go over the minimum and recommended system requirements for the game on PC and talk about what I'm going to be running it with when I play it at launch and my general thoughts on the requirements. We'll also go over what's included in each version of the game so you know what you're buying. Let's start off with requirements that apply to both the minimum and the recommended specs. First off, you're going to need to be running Windows 10 or 11, a 64-bit OS is required. You're going to need to be able to run DirectX 12 and have a minimum of 100 gigabytes available space on your drive. And they do recommend an SSD for this title. Although at this point, most titles recommend that anyway. But shockingly, for both the minimum and recommended specs, you only need 16 gigabytes of RAM, which is pretty surprising considering how graphically and mechanically intense this game looks to be. If it is only needing 16 gigs of RAM, that's never a bad thing, but I'm going to stay healthily skeptical until I have a chance to actually play it. Now, specifically for the minimum requirements, you're going to need at least an Intel i5-8600 or an AMD Ryzen 5 3600 for your CPU, which quite frankly I think is pretty decent. It's been a while since the 8th gen Intel CPUs dropped, but considering that only about 20% of Steam users have Intel CPUs that are 3 GHz and up, you might be one of the 80% of people that need to upgrade to play this game. In terms of GPU and the minimum specs, you're going to need at least an RTX 2060 Super, which again might be a little rich for some, but considering the current most popular card for Steam users is the RTX 3060, I'm feeling a little bit more hopeful about this one. Onto recommended specs now, and according to the team behind the game, you'll need a little bit of a bump on the Intel side, at least an Intel i7 8th gen, or if you're running AMD, the Ryzen 5 3600 should still do just fine. Surprisingly, RAM still stays the same at 16 gigabytes, but for the graphics card, the minimum recommended is actually a 3080. If you've already upgraded to the latest generation, you should be absolutely fine in my opinion, as long as you're hitting the minimum of 8 gigabytes of VRAM. I'm going to be testing this out with the 5070 Founders Edition and the Intel Core Ultra 9, 64 gigs of Dominator Titanium RAM from Corsair, and a Gen 5 SSD from them too. I'm working on some things to see if I can bump the graphics card up to a 5070 Ti or maybe even a 5080 soon. But for now, these are the specs that I'm going to be running with, and if you want to see how this performs, make sure to come and check out my streams, and if you're interested in upgrading to any of the parts that I currently use, then make sure to check out the links below. Overall, I'm a little surprised on how high some of these specs are, particularly the GPU on the minimum recommended side, but if it's going to be as graphically impressive as the trailer suggests, maybe I should be that surprised. Let me know in the comments below what you're going to be trying to run it at, if you're going to be playing. Finally now, let's talk about the versions of the game that you can get. If you're grabbing this from Steam, there are 2 base editions with some additional pre-order bonuses on each of them. Up first, the standard edition, which simply gets you the game, but if you pre-order, you will get the white tuxedo uniform. However, if you order the digital deluxe edition, this includes the base game and a sneaking DLC pack, which essentially is a bunch of uniforms, including 2 from Peace Walker, a crocodile suit, 2 naked camos, the golden uniform, a pair of glasses, a pair of sunglasses, and 2 masks. If you also pre-order the digital deluxe edition, you will get the white tuxedo uniform and 48 hours of early access to the game. If you've still not pre-ordered the game, but you're planning to, make sure to use my CD Keys affiliate link to support the channel. The links are in the description down below. And in the meantime, stay safe, stay awesome, and I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.